Manchester United producing a sensational second half display, rallying from 2-0 down to beat Atalanta in their UEFA Champions League Group F encounter at Old Trafford. Yes, we do have highlights.
Trafford. There goes Muriel. Ilicic. Here's Zappacosta, and they've taken the lead. Pasalic steered it in.
Really well crafted goal from the visitors.
Yeah, it's a tight one. Not minus to take the corner. David De Gea has a crowd scene. And up goes Demiral.
Maguire tries to get across to cover the space, but Demiral, with an opportunity from that range, makes it count.
Given away by Ilicic. And that could be a costly mistake because Rashford's in here for Manchester United and steers them back into the game.
That is a clinical finish off of an error that Manchester United have capitalised on.
Well, 2 appearances back in the team after injury. 2 goals for Marcus Rashford.
Switched off. He's just found it very difficult since being introduced as a half-time substitute.
In by Bruno Fernandes, and Maguire tucks it away. It's 2-2.
Some good fortune the way it arrives to Maguire's feet, but what a good finish. Sweeps it into the bottom corner. Brilliant strike from the centre-half. Game all square.
Fred. Maguire by the far post. Doesn't come to him, but it does come to Ronaldo. When you need a hero, you've got an ultimate hero. Cristiano Ronaldo rises, and Manchester United rise from 2-0 down to 3-2 up inside the last 10 minutes.
Luke Shaw has the chance to deliver. Ronaldo, absolutely superb. Textbook in the fact that he heads it back where it comes from, down into the ground, into the corner. That is magnificent.
And the blast on the whistle, right by Cristiano Ronaldo, who has been the hero again, the match winner again, as he was here against Villarreal. At home, played 1-2 in the Champions League for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
So this result has vaulted United to the top of Group F with 2 wins and 1 defeat from their 3 games. Atalanta and Villarreal both on 4 points. The Italian team on goal difference, they hold on to second place. And young boys from Bern in Switzerland, they are at the bottom of the group on 3 points. Brent Sancho checks in now to talk about today's game. And Brent, inside the first 29 minutes at Old Trafford, the 70,000 plus for the home team must have wondered what was happening and if it was all going to go potty yet again. Their team 2-0 down and Atalanta bossing it. Second half, a turnaround. What do you think accounted for the change in fortunes for the team in red?
Yeah, I think the first half performance, George, is certainly disappointed is an understatement. And let's be honest, I thought Atalanta probably should have been at least 3 or 4 up. The chances they created, the way they dominated the football game. And I think in the second half, it's as simple as they played with a bit more intensity. They played with a bit more belief. This is Manchester United that we're speaking of. And of course, as well, they started to play tactically a better game. They didn't leave Fred and McTominay alone in the middle of the park. They seemed to be a little bit more connected. And everyone in a red and white, in a red top and white shorts, decided to step things up, and that was the difference in the game.
And you know, Brent, we've been discussing a lot about the impact of home crowd. Some people say, well, it doesn't make a difference. Other people say, yes, it really makes a difference. Perhaps those who are making the latter argument that it does make a difference will point to a period in that second half when the game was 2-1. So United had scored, Rashford had scored to halve the deficit. And 3 Atalanta players got yellow cards, 3 consecutive tackles, 3 fouls, 3 yellow cards. You sensed at that point that the noise from the supporters in the stands and the fact that the atmosphere, perhaps for the first time for the night, became intimidating for the Italian boys, really took a toll and caused them to perhaps go into their shell a little bit, contributing to their defeat.
Yeah, and if you go back to the first game of the season, or actually the first game when Ronaldo signed for Manchester United. He played at Old Trafford. Remember the electric atmosphere. Of course, a lot of persons talking about the type of environment that was created by the fans. And we saw that tonight. We certainly didn't see it in the first half. And you know what was remarkable, George? I expected a louder sense of disappointment by the supporters at Manchester United. You didn't hear it. At some grounds in England, you can't hear resounding boos. You heard it, but you didn't hear it as I thought it would have been. And even when they came out for the second half, some of the supporters were applauding Ole Gunnar coming out. So the Manchester United fans were patient with the boys, and it certainly helped them and spurred them on in the second half.
Yeah, and Brent, speaking about the fans cheering on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you know, he was able to get the win for his team when it mattered the most. Does this, take off some of the pressure of Ole?
Well, it depends on which way you look at it. I think for Ole, I don't even think he's under pressure. I said this before. I think from the hierarchy perspective, they're very comfortable with keeping him in charge. And as we all know, somehow he conjures up these types of results and keeps himself in a job. But, I mean, if we are to be honest here, he has no business being at Manchester United. I'm sorry, because at the end of the day, Manchester United is one of the biggest clubs in world football. They are supposed to be competing for trophies. There's absolutely no one in any part of our islands, whether Trinidad, Jamaica, or anywhere, can tell me that Manchester United is going to win a trophy this season. They're not. And it's down to the fact that they don't have the right manager. And I think everyone knows this. And until Manchester United makes that change, we're going to keep having these types of conversations, whether Ole should go or he should stay.
Right, and what about his decision today to drop Paul Pogba after coming off a loss against Leicester?
I think he could have dropped any one of them, whether it be Pogba, Bruno Fernandes, and the list goes on, and his superstars, because at the end of the day, for me, I think it's all about balance, and Ole has not found that balance for Manchester United. Albeit, of course, they scored 3 goals in the second half. And listen, right, the 3 goals came down to individual brilliance. Maguire with an unbelievable strike for a centre half, and of course, Ronaldo and Rashford for the type of strikes that we know they're capable of. But there's nothing within the Man United pattern of play, the Man United playbook, that would suggest that they did this the team way. They didn't do it a team way. They certainly did it the individual way. And I think going into the Liverpool fixture this weekend, it's very hard for any Manchester United fan to go into that game with confidence.
Yeah, you talk about the Liverpool fixture coming up this weekend, but a lot has been made of the immediate future of the Man United assignments, Brent, because after Liverpool, there's Tottenham, then Man City, all that coming in the next couple of weeks. So, this European test for them would have been a good start to put them into that those 3 pretty tough-looking domestic matches.
Yeah, and let's put things into context. This is an Atalanta team that was missing 5 starters. This is an Atalanta team that had to make a change at the halftime with probably one of their best centre-backs in the morale. So, yes, it's a good win for Manchester United. I thought in the first half, if it was a better team, they probably would have been down 4 or 5. But going into the second half, they're able to call themselves back. As you look at the fixtures coming up, you're going up against a Liverpool team where all of their striking power is in unbelievable form. How is Manchester United going to face up to that? How are they going to stop Salah? How are they going to stop Mane? And from what I've seen in the first half of this game against Atalanta, they haven't answered any of the questions for me. And so I would be extremely surprised, and somehow I know Ole seems to get out of these sorts of positions somehow. But I'd be very, very surprised if Manchester United comes out of that fixture successful.
Yeah, you talk about the difficulties that they will face against Liverpool based on what you're seeing, Brent. So if you were in charge of Manchester United for that assignment, are you saying that you don't think they have the tools, or is it that you could employ a certain strategy that could nullify Liverpool?
Look, there's no doubt that Manchester United have the tools. They certainly have an extremely talented squad. But again, if you looked at the way they set themselves up tonight with 2 holding midfielders, basically playing a 4-2-4. And look, it doesn't matter which midfielder you put in there, whether it be Vieri and Kyiv as the 2, there's no way at this level of football that 2 midfielders, and especially McTominay and Fred, could keep a team, to keep them together, to of course stop the waves of attack and to give the defensive cover that is necessary. Because Fernandes and Greenwood and Rashford, etc., they did not give the type of effort defensively. So my point is, going into the Liverpool game, tactically, they're going to have to shape things up differently, and they're going to have to ask and demand a lot more from their striking quintet, whether it be the 5 or the 3.
Well, the one manager who's under more pressure than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer right now that Steve Bruce has been put out of his misery by Newcastle with an £8 million payoff, Brent. Ching. Ronald Koeman at Barcelona, he led his troops into battle against the Dynamo Kyiv, needing a win to stay afloat in the Champions League.
It's given straight back to Barcelona. Depay's got it once again. Now it's Luke de Jong. Big hand comes out from Bushan. Corner number 6. Frankie de Jong. Busquets. Alba's delivery. Now a chance for PK, and Barcelona have their lead. It's their first Champions League goal of the season, and it comes from one of their most experienced players in behind the defence, timing his run to perfection, side-footing the ball beyond Busquets. Real pace to it. Busquets couldn't react. Here's the cross again. Stealing in and round the back. Timing his run well. Gerard Piqué. Terrific goal. Bushan being pushed by Fati, and it's a real problem. Depay trying to keep it in. Ansu Fati juggling with it. Oh! Imagine if that had gone in. You wouldn't be watching anything else for a week. Dogged determination to close down Bushan. Brilliant from Depay. Almost something very, very special. Now, some might say he should have taken it a little bit earlier instead of trying the elaborate, and he might be one of them. Not quite back on track, but heading in the right direction.
So Bayern Munich continue to set the pace in that group. Lewandowski, Thomas Muller Lewandowski among the scorers for them in their game. Benfica second, Barca in third. They're finally on the board, and Dynamo Kyiv have a draw so far to show for their efforts. They bring up the rear in this group. So Brent, you saw Barcelona today get the vital 3 points. The fact of the 3 points was more important than the quality of the performance. But do you sense that the noise around Ronald Koeman is starting to settle, and that this team is starting to dig out some performances leading to good results?
I don't think the noise will ever settle when it comes to Koeman, because the writing's on the wall. We all know the only reason he's still there is because of the financial complications. And look, as much as Barcelona with Fati and Pedri and those types of players on the whole is a good team and could get good results, they're not going to be the Barcelona that wins the Champions League. They're not going to be a Barcelona certainly that's going to compete for La Liga title this season. So for me, yes, it's a good result for them. I thought, again, it was a very poor Kyiv team. And moving forward, you'd have to suggest that they're going to have to compete against Benfica to get out of the group. Because to me, if you're talking about a team that's on fire, you're talking about a team that's really in full stride, it is Bayern Munich. And I can't see them turning around that deficit as it relates to point deficit to turning over Bayern Munich. So they're going to have to settle with trying to get past Benfica to get out of this group.
If ever there was a goal that I would say that you would have scored at some point in your career as a centre-half, it would have been the strike from Mr. Shakira, because he stayed up for the corner, Gerard Piqué, as you're coached to do, and he came in from wide, so he was behind the defender, not quite sure that he was making that run. It was a very well-timed run, and a rather well-taken goal, you must say, Gerard Piqué. Something that you may have knocked away a few of those in your career, Brent.
Now, once it's on the feet, George, it's not going in a goal. It has to be on the head. And most centre-halves, when ball comes into the box in that type of manner, you're hoping and praying it comes head height, because you know once it goes down to the feet, you could be struggling. But that's a good finish. He meant it. He knew where he wanted to put it. And look, that's two good finishes from a centre-half, because I thought Maguire's finish as well for Manchester United was top class, very on centre half like, and it's a good finish, good timing, and that's what you want from your big man when he comes up and enters into the box.
Yep, the performance of Memphis Depay, he is the creative fulcrum of this team. The one man, well, Fatty apart, but he's still unproven in my book. But Depay is that man who you fancy him one-on-one, you expect him to make something happen. He has taken on this role onto himself to be the creator-in-chief. Your thoughts on how he acquitted himself against a rather weakish Dynamo Kyiv side?
Look, I give him a lot of credit, George, and not just at this game, throughout the season. I've been watching Barcelona and him in particular, and we all know he got a lot of stick coming into Barcelona as a signing. They didn't think it was a big enough signing, and most people and pundits still feel that he's past his best. But if you look at Depay in the Euros, and now you look at him here, of course, with Barcelona, I thought he's been exceptional so far. You're right, he's been a creative spark, and what I like about him as well, he's taken that responsibility. There's so many in that Barcelona shirt that shook the responsibility, that's hiding, and of course, and as fearful of the criticism that's being received. But that man, Depay, he's certainly come out and decided that he's going to take this by the scruff of the neck. And a credit to him and this afternoon's performance. It's a next feather in his hat. Yeah, stay with us, Brent. This Barcelona team looked to me like the Barca from the 90s before Rivaldo and Figo linked up when Barca were struggling in Europe and domestically. That Barca looks to have resurfaced its head because of all the off-field problems. Well, stay with us. Chelsea will be in the spotlight in our next segment.
Yeah, so this is the Group G points table following today's matches. Salzburg at the moment on 7 points, 5 points separating first from third at the moment. Sevilla on 3, Lille on 2, and Wolfsburg on 2 points as well. So 5 points separating the entire field in this Group G. Group H has Juventus. Perfect from their 3 games. They've already beaten Chelsea, Zenit Petersburg, St. Petersburg and Malmo. So they're maximum 9 points. Chelsea 3 points behind on 6. Zenit St. Petersburg on 3 points. Malmo yet to get off the mark. So champions Chelsea proving too good for Malmo in their Group H encounter. That of course played at Stamford Bridge. And we have the highlights. Yeah, getting to them now, I think.
Blue is the colour they sing at Stamford Bridge, and it certainly is tonight, and will be again. Christensen, Lukaku has it nicked away. Real Chelsea pressure now. Thiago Silva, and it's a goal for Christensen. His first ever for Chelsea. Started to go back to defence, but he reacted well to turn and go towards goal. And when the ball came in from defensive colleague Thiago Silva, that is a heck of a finish. Lukaku turns and then beats Nielsen and keeps going, and Nielsen's challenge results in a penalty this time. He's just got to guess the right way now. Jorginho doesn't mess about with that one, not so much of a hop. Havertz in front of him, Mount over on the other side. And Hudson-Odoi making up plenty of ground here. Havertz clips it over the keeper and makes it 3. Straight away he acknowledged the part played, the huge part played by Callum Hudson-Odoi, who ran and ran. Played the pass at just the right time. Still plenty to do for Kai Havertz. Had to get there quickly. Rudiger wins the ball back. Sheer determination from Rudiger. And Rudiger then is seemingly taken out as he goes for goal. And he was. It is another Chelsea penalty. He's already eyeing up the goalkeeper. Here comes Jorginho. And it is a carbon copy penalty. Well, the rain has never stopped from the start of the game to the final whistle at Stamford Bridge tonight, and Chelsea never stopped once they got going.
Yes, so the holders, Chelsea, looking very fluent there in their 4-0 victory. So 8 goals in their last 3 matches, following victories as well over Brentford and Southampton in the domestic league. And Chelsea, Brent Sancho, continuing to look very, very fluent offensively.
Yeah, fluent offensively. It's the first time we've seen a better swagger from them, because I think in the other performances, I think they did just enough to get a result. This is the first time we saw a little bit extra dazzle on it, and it's simply because I think they understand their roles from 1 through 11. They know what they want to do on the park. They know exactly how they want to play, which gives, of course, their front men, no matter whoever it may be, the ability to go out and perform.
You know what, when we looked at Chelsea last year or last season, Brent, we all agreed that this is a team based on their roster, looking to build themselves into, you know, a position of superiority to some extent. They partially answered those questions by becoming the Champions League winners last year. How much better is this Chelsea team now? Because we think that this Chelsea team has the scope and potential to be getting better and better.
Well, we have to pinch ourselves and remember that Thomas Tuchel is still very much in the honeymoon period of his job. He's still young in terms of the management time at Chelsea. What I like is the solidity defensively. And it's something that we saw last season. I think a lot of it was down to the fact that they won the championships because of that defensive solidity. But what we are seeing now is that now they've formed that platform, that building ground, that formation block. They are now springing off into, of course, an offensive threat. And of course, the signing of Lukaku and more of the pieces now starting to get acclimatized. Werner, I think, is playing a lot better now. The pressure's off of him. And Havertz, of course, giving his normal contributions. I think there's a lot more understanding throughout the team, not just 1 through 11, but I think every single person. We've seen a lot of interchanging and rotation as it relates to squad selection. But one thing having dropped so far, Lance, is their ability to understand what is expected from them and of course, expected from the manager.
Brenton, all that sounded so nicely when you said it just now. Thomas Tuchel, he's in some problems after today's match. It costed him a lot because now Lukaku out because of injury and Timo Werner also picking up an injury. If you're Thomas Tuchel, you'll literally be eating all your nails off.
Yeah, I think in terms of, and if we have to be honest here, they've gotten goals from different departments within the field. Of course, at the Brentford game, Chilwell with an excellent goal, and they've picked up goals here and there. In this game, Christensen, the defender, coming in and scoring a terrific goal, 2 penalties by Jorginho. So I think he'll be comfortable, and from, if we are to judge from the last 3 or 4 games, in that sense, nobody wants to lose the likes of Lukaku or Werner. So yes, that would be a disappointment for him. But I think there's more than enough, of course, firepower on the bench to replace these guys, and more importantly, to keep the Chelsea juggernaut running.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is, though, I was looking at a statistic, well, some statistics over the weekend, Brent. I was talking to Lance in the office yesterday, it may have been, and I was saying to him that I was shocked when Sky produced this graphic which showed that in their games played together to date for Chelsea, before today, Kai Havertz did not pass to Romelu Lukaku once. Lukaku received the ball multiple times from everybody else, from Timo Werner, from Mateo Kovacic, from Jorginho, from everybody, defenders and attackers. And they were saying that perhaps it is that the German doesn't want the Belgian to do well because he wants his German colleague, Timo Werner, to do well. Well, forget that for the moment. But look, Brent, it is shocking that at this level you can have a high-level attacker such as Kai Havertz not passing to the team's focal point in the attack, Romelu Lukaku, before today. And I don't know how many times they passed to each other today. And I'm saying, well, not even passed to each other, because Lukaku has passed to Havertz, but Havertz hasn't passed to him, not even once. That's shocking.
Yeah, it's a surprising fact, and you'd have to say that with Lukaku coming into the team, the focal point is different for Chelsea. Even the way they play offensively is a little bit different as well, because you have Lukaku. Before they were a bit more free-spirited as relates to throwing numbers forward with Timo Werner, etc. A bit more mobile in their approach. But with Lukaku, the focal point is a lot more direct balls into him. He holds it up, he plays it off. But yeah, it's a surprising fact. You would expect that something from Havertz to Lukaku, certainly.
But here's the question for you, my friend.
Intention,
but here's the question for you, and Lance and I were debating this. That must be deliberate. It can't be just coincidental. You can't play 6-7 games and not pass to your focal point in attack, not even once. I'm sorry, it can't be coincidental.
It's a hard pill for me to swallow at that level to suggest it's deliberate. But I do think, however, that maybe Havertz is not probably is a fan of Lukaku and the way he plays and the way he positions himself. Because remember, guys, at the end of the day, it's where once Havertz makes that turn and picks his head up, it's where Lukaku is to him, you know, in the relation. And maybe he's not in the positions that Havertz fancy, and so he looks a pass outside. But I would say this though, looking at Havertz last season, he's a type of player that likes to lay the ball out wide for crosses coming into the box. So maybe that's the reason why.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about another game. Bayern Munich at it again, that old warhorse. I said to the colleagues in the zone room when we were watching the Manchester United, I said, breaking news, and everybody looked and I said, Lewandowski has scored again, and they said, well, whatever. You expect him to score and be obliged today. What more can you say about the outstanding poll?
You know what? I looked at this. I looked at the game with Bayern Munich. I looked at them as well against Bayern because when they won that game. You didn't think Bayern Munich could improve. I didn't think so, certainly. I thought Hansi Flick did a tremendous job. I know we at SportsMax here have been raving about this coach. But in comes Jürgen Nagelsmann. He comes in, and you're actually seeing even a better Bayern Munich product. And listen, I'm saying that, and I can't believe I'm saying that, because it's almost impossible to say something like that. And looking at Bayern Munich annihilate teams, they give them absolutely no chance. They've scored 5 on the weekend. They come again. Today they scored 5. Of course, Lewandowski and the likes of Muller, etc. Outstanding movement, outstanding pace, outstanding in terms of the way they approach the football game. It's very hard for me to suggest that if they kept up this form, I just don't see any team in Europe being able to beat Bayern Munich.
Yeah, and that guy that we love to talk about when we talk about Bayern Munich, apart from Robert Lewandowski, Leroy Sané got on the score sheet twice today. Do you see signs? And of course, he was quite good against Leverkusen on the weekend. I watched the first half of that match where they destroyed the Bayern Leverkusen team. Do you think that Sané is finally settling at Bayern?
Well, certainly, George. Look, we knew when he came into Man City what type of player he could possibly be, what type of footballer that Pep Guardiola wanted him to be, and he never really lived up to it. And it's fair to say we saw it in flashes, and as time went on and the pressure that Pep put on him in terms of wanting consistency from him, we saw him drop, his levels drop more and more. But what I've seen so far from him this season is he's just been outstanding. He's bringing all different types of dimension to his game. And the most important one to me, George, is the finishing.
Yeah.
That has improved, certainly, and we're seeing a much better player.
Yeah, bred to be a superb athlete, Leroy Sané. That he is. His head hasn't always been right, but it looks as if he's finally coming to hand at Bayern Munich, settling and showing the place, showing people what a world-class player he really is. Thank you, Brent. All the best to you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Good. Right?
Yeah, well, still to come on the SportsMax Zone, we'll review the West Indies' loss to Afghanistan as they warm up for the ICC T20 World Cup. And later, we tell you how Giannis and the Bucks started the defense of their NBA title.